have a bit of a strategy, a bit of a plan, but also be paying attention in the moment so that you notice the opportunities, right? And potentially divert a little bit, but that still sort of have a trajectory that makes sense for you, right?
So that long-term vision, but not necessarily knowing each step along the way.
Right, exactly.
Do you think that would close you off from opportunities?
For sure, absolutely.
Hey there, I'm so happy that you are here. Welcome to the Power of Why podcast. You are about to watch an interview with an unconventional woman in business. These are women that inspire me every single day by doing the work that they love, living out their why. So make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for updates when new videos come out, and make sure to connect with me on social so that you can be a part of the journey. See you later. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 8, part 1 of the Power of Why podcast. My name is Naomi Hiley, and today I am joined by the amazing Carolyn Hanna. Thank you for being here.
Such a privilege to be with you and having this conversation. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So Carolyn Hanna is a relationship manager, and she really focuses and engages with deepening the relationship between employers and the student body here at the university that I studied at. Carolyn has had a huge impact on my life, especially during my time here at school, and I know many other students share my sentiment when I say that, so thank you for being here.
Wow, thank you.
And before we get started, I wanted to share a quote that Carolyn mentioned when she was featured in the Ottawa Business Journal. She said, as a student, the opportunity to have experience with the business community is a very key part of a life at Telfer. And I think that really showcases her love for coaching, her love for supporting people in their career journey. In part 1, we'll be discussing career strategy, networking, what to think about before you enter the workforce. So can you talk a little bit about who you are and what your career trajectory has looked like the past few years?
Okay, I'm happy to do that. I've always been a part, you talked about community. I've always been a part of the business community my entire career. I started out with a degree in psychology and labor studies, and worked for DuPont for several years, so a big chemical company, in different roles. Initially thought I wanted to get into human resources, and learned very quickly that the relationship management piece was going to be more frequent if I was face-to-face building with clients.
Right.
So that's when I shifted towards more corporate relationship management and did that for a few different companies. And my transition from DuPont to the next company, which was Lilly Industries at the time, was one that I made through a relationship that I built with the client. So again there, even the relationship management was sort of securing my next position because I'd built a strong relationship with that client. And at one point they had a conversation with me about, had you ever considered, making a change? And that's how that next position started. So relationship management is kind of at my core, right? In terms of recognizing the value of it, the importance of it, and wanting to share that with others so that they can be successful, so they can be successful too.
Whether that's students or your
or
clients,
professionals or clients, right? So I think that's so in a nutshell, that's kind of how it all started, and then from there, also got involved with organizational effectiveness in different companies. Did some career coaching. Always loved being sought after for advice before I was an official coach.
Yeah.
So always enjoyed those roles through the different roles that I had. And then from a career coaching perspective, more specifically got into it when I was looking for career advice of my own. So I was transitioning between two opportunities and decided that I needed a bit of career advice. So I went to seek career advice, which I recommend highly to anyone who is looking for a transition of some sort, get the advice. And then discovered that through getting this advice, thinking, I could do this, I could career coach. And that's how I sort of continued to pursue that passion, and then really enjoyed doing that. It's been a part of my life ever since, and that goes back 20 years. Right? So that component is certainly key, and the business relationship building piece, the corporate relationship management is something I've always done too. So combining this, when this opportunity came up at Telfer, where I am now. of using both my career coaching background and experience and my corporate relationship management background, and doing it on behalf of the next generation and bringing corporations and community together with students. That was like my ideal job.
It was the perfect
It was
fit.
a perfect
It combined
fit.
a lot of what you were looking for, right?
It really did.
Yeah.
And I didn't think twice when I saw it. I applied very late on a Friday afternoon, and I haven't looked back.
So you mentioned that you saw a pattern, in the different roles that you had.
Yep.
And although they were very different, you loved the coaching aspect of it, and you were obviously very that. You played to your strengths. Did you, how intentional were you when you were moving around? And did you, because oftentimes, for me, I've been out of school for about a year now, and when talking to people who've had such amazing careers, a lot of it just sort of happens. It happens naturally, and you just sort of follow your curiosity, right? So how intentional were you in seeking out what you loved versus other people noticing it in you,
Right.
and suggesting you for those types of moves?
Right. I think it was probably a combination of both. One of the things that I definitely wanted to achieve was management experience early in my career, and where I wasn't going to be able to move up fast enough because there wasn't any movement in the upper management level. So that's what caused me to make my first move. It was strategic, deliberate, kind of, of course I had to be asked. That was that one I was telling you about, that they noticed me. So that's why I say it's a combination. The opportunity came up, but I kind of knew I wanted to get that additional experience, and that opportunity was able to give me that, right? So I think it has to be a bit of both. You have to be able to have a bit of a strategy, a bit of a plan,
Right.
but also be paying attention in the moment so that you notice the opportunities, right? And potentially divert a little bit, but still sort of have a trajectory that makes sense for you, right?
So that long-term vision, but not necessarily knowing each step along the way.
Right.
Do you think that would close you off from opportunities?
For sure, absolutely. Because, other opportunities I've had after that were through connections, through friends, things I hadn't even considered. And one of them was working with Dale Carnegie Corporation, and Dale Carnegie Training, which complemented my career coaching passion. And had I, not listened to this friend who had this career in this organization, I wouldn't have realized what a great fit it was for my coaching, my love for coaching.
Right.
So, so that's another example of, being open and seeing what's out there and taking the opportunity that's still sort of aligned with what you love. I think you've got to know yourself.
Yeah, self-awareness is huge.
Self-awareness, and it's not always an easy thing. There are times in my life where I knew myself better than others.
Yeah.
Because it fluctuates. I don't think it's necessarily you know yourself forever, because you change. We change, right?
That's true.
So I think it's always coming back to grounding yourself and figuring out, is this truly, and asking yourself those tough questions. Am I truly going to love this, or is this truly, part of what I'm all about?
It's tough because there's, I'll share a little bit about some of the struggles that I've been facing just in terms of career exploration. And part of it is, feeling that pressure from different, people in my life, and sometimes ignoring that voice inside of me that is telling you, you're just really strong in this area, but, trying to appease everyone, and I think not listening to your own voice only hurts you in the end.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. So what are some questions that, young people can ask themselves when they're either in university, just about to graduate, or, or early on in their career journey? What types of questions would you suggest that we ask ourselves to help us better with the self-awareness piece? It's tough.
You know when time disappears for you? Meaning maybe maybe it's pain, maybe it's when time passes and you don't notice time passing. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that's a real key thing to start noticing early, so that you know how something makes you feel, right? And also how you feel after you've done something, right? After you've successfully closed a deal. If you're a salesperson, after you successfully closed a deal, you feel a high from that, right? after you've, made a new connection. And for me, it's making a new connection. If I can't connect with the person, like if you and I can't connect on some level that's deeper than how's the weather, I have difficulty with that. I want to go deeper. I want to get to know you and what you're all about. And so, hence relationship management, right? Because that's a huge part of relationship management, building relationships and having that curiosity and wanting to have that human connection. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, but it's noticing. Notice what you love. Like if you're hanging out with your friends, if you're doing something outside of work, and you're really, you just spent 5 hours and you can't.
You're in your zone.
You're in your zone. That's a good way to phrase it. Yes, you're in your zone.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of that happens, when we're present, but also when we're trying out different things. Because maybe, you just haven't experienced that yet because you haven't, put yourself out of your comfort zone or tried out different things where you can sort of fall into, your passion. So very cool.
You said comfort zone.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking informally earlier about that, what we're comfortable and not comfortable with, and challenging your comfort zone is also something I advise people to do pretty early, right? In terms of doing something and recognizing what you go through when you're actually out of your comfort zone or you're about to be, right? Like what feelings do you have, and push through them anyway, right? So that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's how you know you're growing, honestly. So on the topic of challenges and overcoming challenges, for example, you shared some of the things that you start feeling whenever, you're doing something that, you're not necessarily comfortable with, but that it's good for you.
Yes.
Or that it will be worth it once once you've overcome it. So can you speak to the importance of doing that early on in your career and while you're young?
Oh my goodness, it's back to that self-awareness piece that you were talking about. I think, for me, for instance, when I'm about to do something that's outside of the ordinary, outside of my comfort zone, like videotaping, this, I spend the 24 hours before trying to find reasons not to do it, trying to find excuses not to do it. And so that I know is my pattern now, right? So I figured out that pattern over time. That's what I do, and that's what I have to, and it still comes up even though I'm aware of it. But it's much easier now that I know that it's there. I can sort of go, okay, no, I'm going to shut that down because it's not real. And I really want to do this. It's a step in the right direction where I want to go. So it's whatever it is that you really want. If it's in line, it's like push through the fear if it's in line with your goals. Push through the comfort zone butterflies, whatever you want to call that, if it's in line with where you want to go.
And what you're trying to achieve. Yeah.
Or do it anyway, right? Just saying yes. Saying yes to things.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, even I walked into Carolyn's office, and the first thing I said was, "Hi, Carolyn. I'm very nervous to be doing this interview right now." And
I was shocked.
Yeah,
what are you nervous?
Before, the way I would react to that is I would talk myself out of doing it.
Okay.
But now, I just filmed a video before this talking about, even though you have those butterflies, just like what you were saying, you've seen the good that comes out of what doing something that scared you before.
Yes.
And all the positive things, whether that's making a new connection or making a speech and having it really resonate with people. So there's so much good that comes from what you may feel like in that moment. What would you say is the best career advice that you received?
It's funny, we've talked about this before, and I thought of numerous things, and the one that keeps coming back to me now, a little different than what you and I talked about earlier, is not burning your bridges. And I've seen it come back to me a little differently recently in a different phrase, and that is, people will not remember you, they'll remember how you made them feel, right? Yeah. I don't remember where it was some video clip of some sort. And again, because of the relationship management piece that I'm involved in, I mean, I've seen that over and over again. We all get it. We all get tired or impatient or whatever, and sometimes we're a little shorter than we want to be with a teammate or it's not our best self coming out.
Yeah.
And whenever I've come into those situations under stress, it's taken a long time to rebuild that relationship. And you know it, right? Because you were maybe a little short, a little more direct than you should be, or whatever. And it's not about not speaking your truth, but it's just that edge when you're angry that might come out in a different way.
Right.
And so it just reinforces that, don't burn your bridges, no matter what. Stay patient, be patient, no matter what, and try. And if not, then obviously you're gonna apologize, connect, find a way to fix that very quickly, because it's all part of how you make people feel. Right? So that's probably the best advice I would give, because we're working with people in teams all the time, right? I mean, you know it from your classmates, your projects. Did you experience some of that when you're with, because as a student, you must find situations where the team dynamic doesn't work quite right?
Yeah.
And have you experienced that too, where you sort of, the relationship can be impacted by that?
Yeah, especially huge kudos to Telfer. I mean, when you're in your third and fourth year of, business school, every class we had at least one group project. And so you get to meet a wide variety of people with very different experiences, and they come from different walks of life, right? So I think the patience piece, very important, but also you never know where you will meet this person in the future.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And okay, so my final question is, with that in mind, and I feel like you have a relationship building lens to you, I think, in every situation that you find yourself in.
Okay.
How has that really, really been a strength? And how should people, because sometimes people struggle building professional relationships, right? Whether it's the networking piece, and I don't like that word. I tend to see it as a relationship building piece. So how can people change their perspective on this when they first meet people?
I think bringing out your natural curiosity is probably the best way to connect. Because if you're genuinely curious, your questions are going to come from a different place. Like you right now, this conversation is natural, and you're curious about the next thing based on what I've said before. And it's that whole curiosity piece that makes the relationship easier to have, and more natural, more organic. I think that's probably the key. Be genuine. Be in the moment. Be with the person, and nothing else and no one else matters other than the person that you're talking to. I think that's a key piece. And when it comes to, I know we don't like the word networking always, because it's a very heavily used word, right? And what does it mean exactly? And I think it's, if you can focus more on quality versus quantity, things like that. A lot of great networking coaches talk about that.
What does that mean exactly?
So for instance, if you're going into some sort of an event where you're going to build relationships, or your objective is to build relationships and get to know that community or that audience, focus on the quality of the connections you're making versus the numbers, right? How many business cards but that's fairly basic information. I think a lot of people that are doing things kind of know that, but it's important, I think, and then allocate time to the ones that are important to you, or the ones that you connect with. Because at the end of the day, do you connect and feel connected with everyone that you meet, or
probably not?
Right? There's some people you gravitate more towards than others. So why not focus on those, and then those gems of relationships become sort of business professional friends, and then you're helping each other out going through your career. And those are the valuable relationships.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I definitely learned a lot from this episode. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. That was part 1 of episode 8. Stay tuned for the next piece. We'll be talking more about mentorship, and from the perspective of building relationships as well. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Power of Why podcast. It is such a pleasure to bring forward women who are absolutely killing it in their industry. If anything resonated with you in this episode, make sure to put it in the comments or even reach out to me directly. So if you know any women, or if you are a woman who is doing incredible things in your community, send me a message. I'd love to chat.